Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel, Charles Max Chess. It's been a while. I think it's almost 2 months now before we had our last video. It's just very busy these days. I was busy with school and just lucky this time that they have this National Day celebration. So the kids are having the holidays for the whole month of December. And starting this week, they also have the final exams. Now I have time to uh, make some videos for you guys. I miss doing this. And without further ado, let's take a look at the recent tournament in India, in Kolkata, India, the Tata Steel Rapid and Blitz 2022. And one of the highlights of this game is Wesley So's win over Hikaru Nakamura in round number 2. There were 3 games today. Okay, it's 9 rounds for the Rapid, 3 games per day. It will finish on the 30th. And after that will be the Blitz, yeah? Let's start the ball rolling here. D4 was played by Hikaru Nakamura. D5, C4, E6, knight C3, knight F6, takes on D5, E takes D5, bishop G5. All right, and bishop B4. Now we're going into the Ragozin. Yeah, one of the most accurate defense against D4 is the Ragozin. It has been very popular these days. It's either the Nimzo or the Rago. Okay, knight f3. All right, in the game, h6 was played. Now let's take a look at the difference. Because in one of the latest games played by Gukesh against Lekwang Liam, e3 was played in the game. Right. Okay, after e3, there was h6, bishop h4, g5, and now black has knight e4, rook c1, h5, threatening h4 here, because the bishop cannot go e5, there's f6. Yeah. So with f3, knight takes g3, h takes g3. Now black has a favorable game. Black will just try to castle queenside here. In the Gukesh Lekwang game, c6 was played, bishop to d3, knight d7, h4, queen e7, knight b6, and Gukesh went on to win the game. Yeah. After, let's say, a3, bishop d6 takes. Yeah, of course, if you look at the king compared to the king on d2, black's king is safe, white's king no. And the white has to wait some tempi, waste some tempi with king c2, king b1. Now, what's the difference here when the opponent plays knight f3? Will you still go for the h6 g5? The answer is no. Okay, after bishop h4, you should not play g5 here. Okay, this is different. Because after bishop g3, knight e4, white has then immediate knight d2. If you take on c3, for example, takes on c3, bishop takes c3, white has rook c1. Now you cannot go back to b4, a5, because there's queen a4 check. And if you play knight c6 or take c6, I will show you. Let's say bishop a5, for example. I can go right here, or maybe just e3 here. If, let's say, you play bishop takes d4 here, queen a4 check. This is what I'm going to show you. Then rook takes e6, and queen takes on d4. And if, let's say, you go bishop into b2, just bishop takes e7, thanks to that one. Again, if you protect that pawn on c7, white will just play e3. Or maybe you could, okay, let's say you go c6 here, just bishop d3. I don't see any way for the king to be safe here. The black's king, yeah. Okay, you find sometime with bishop e6 and castles, and probably go knight d7, try to castle queen side. But then again, rook to b1, bishop to b6, for example, a4. Okay, it's hard for black to put that king into safety. So that's the difference with that knight f3 and e3. All right, let's go to the game. Castles was played by Wesley. E3, bishop F5, bishop E2, knight B7, and then C6, the typical Carlsbad structure with the pawns. This is the Carlsbad, and this pawns here. All right. Bishop G3, queen E7, queen to B3, knight into B6, castles, rook E8, A3, bishop D6, A4, okay, B8, of course, because A5 is coming. So threat of B7. Knight into D7, queen A3, keeping the queen with queen E6. Rook into E1, knight E4, exchange, A6, B6. Now we keep an eye on that A6 pawn. Black's plan will be to take that pawn later in the game. Rook AC1, bishop F5, okay, keeping the bishop. If Naka, for example, takes this one, Wesley will take this, and potentially the knight can go F6 and D5. Yeah. So rook AC1, bishop F5, B4, queen to G6. If white plays B5 here, then black will just play C5. Knight will take on C5. So rook into C3, rook E6, Wesley protects queen and rook, protecting C6. Rook C1, rook E8. Bishop into F1, B5. Okay, finally the pawn is blocking the bishop from protecting that A6 pawn. Keep an eye on that A6 pawn. Queen A5, knight B6, knight F3, knight C4. And here's an interesting part of the game. Okay, first critical moment. Nakamura, being a fighter, played queen C7. Here, Nakamura, if he wants a draw, he could just take the knight on C4. The force sequence takes on C4, knight H5, knight H4 takes, queen takes, rook takes C4, of course, with a pin on the queen. Wesley with a counterplay here with queen to D5. Rook moves to C2 or anywhere. Just queen takes D4. If the queen goes to C7, Wesley can take on E3, takes, and we have a perpetual. I think Nakamura saw this line, I believe. Of course, they are elite, you know. And he wanted to fight. He played queen C7, pressure on A7. Rook to E7, G3 takes. And now without the queen, it's easy to attack this pawn on A6. Starts with rook B8, threatening rook B6. The bishop can go back to C8. Thanks to that rook on E7. All right. It's a good place for that rook, protecting A7 pawn. Rook B6, knight E1, bishop C8. Rook into C2, pawn. On pawn is enough to win the game. Takes, bishop into C8, regroup. Rook into A2, king F8, nice move. It reminds me of Botvinnik against, Capablanca against Khan. King knight D6, the king goes to the pawn. Also like Carlsen versus Radjabov, you know, one of Carlsen's finest endgames. Rook A1, king B6, the king helps the bishop to protect the pawn on A6 to give freedom to the rook. With the king on B6, the rook is free. It's not passive anymore. It's attacking a pawn on E3. Rook into E1, knight B7. Again, backward pawn. Wesley wants to get rid of the backward pawn and probably use it as a weapon. It will become an outside pass pawn. A5, all right, bring the pawn. Of course, the opponent, if he takes this one, knight takes, knight takes. Wesley has this B pawn. And Nakamura has to worry about the E3 backward pawn. So A4, knight into C5, takes. King goes to C7. King D4, king D8, nice one. The king walk by Wesley from one side to another. King E8, continue the walking, all right, walking zombie here. King into G6, rook back to H1, king G5, wow. The king from B6 all the way to G5. From San Francisco to Kolkata. Nice one, Wesley. Bishop C2, bishop D7, Eric H4, H5. Rook h1, bishop e8. Now the bishop helps the king. Earlier, the bishop was helping the king on a6, this time on h5. Bishop d3, bishop f7, bishop b1, king f6. Coordination. The king has to go back. The bishop protects h5. Technique, yeah? It's all a matter of technique. h1. Okay. A lot of maneuvering here. Rook h8, g5, finally. The pawn break. Rook g8, rook h2, a3, pass pawn. All right. The first weakness now has to be pushed. Bishop into b3, rook e8. Second weakness, the e3 pawn, backward. Bishop goes back to c2. Wesley played a2, a bit too rush. Here, he could have captured f4. Of course, e takes is not possible. Rook could just go e1 and pawn a2, a1. So Nakamura is forced to play g takes, and here you're going to play a2, rook a1, rook h1, rook g8. This is bye-bye. If you play rook a1 takes, and just h4. Unstoppable, yeah. He played a2, but okay, in the end, I have liked that move, yeah, because Wesley played brilliantly. This move, I have been waiting for this move to show you. Okay, rook a1, rook a3, bishop g6. It was a blessing in disguise that Wesley played this a2 move. h4, bishop f3, bishop f7, bishop d1, okay, bishop e8, some maneuvering, gaining some time. Bishop f3, rook a4, nice move. He saw this, huh? King c3, king and bishop on the same line, and he removes the defender with h3. Nice move. What a moment. This is the decisive move of the game, h3. After the takes, d4. This reminds me of the game by Budvinik, yeah, in his beautiful endgame sacrifice on g5, and then another sacrifice on d4. Yeah, it was an opposite colored bishop endgame. After king c2, the main point of h3 is that if the opponent takes on d4 with the pawn, Wesley has this skewer on the bishop because the pawn moves away from protecting the f3 bishop. All right, if you capture also with the king, Wesley has rook takes b4 followed by rook b1 because the bishop on f7 protects the a2 pawn. Hoo-hoo. After king c2 takes on e3, two pass pawns. Again, the principle of two weaknesses. You cannot stop this too. So k3 check, king d4, rook to b3, rook takes b4, king c3. Sorry, after rook takes b4, Nakamura resigned. Well, if we continue king c3, rook takes f4, we have a double attack. Bishop to the rook, rook to the bishop. What a game by Wesley. I was actually expecting him to lead day number one, but Mamijarov is another beast, and it's waiting to be shown later on. So that was it. Beautiful win by Wesley against Hikaru Nakamura, his fellow American Hikaru Nakamura, in round number 2 of the Tata Steel Chess in Kolkata, India. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting our channel, Charles Max Chess and Charles Max Entertainment on Facebook and YouTube. This is Coach Oliver once again. After a very long time, I'm back. All right, I'll see you in our next episode. Bye-bye.